Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back. And today we are doing a very special video where we try to answer those hard-hitting questions. You know, the big ones. Is it better to go to In-N-Out or maybe better to go to Whataburger? Do you prefer Pepsi or do you prefer Coke? Are blondes or brunettes better? But no, we are doing questions that are even bigger than that, ones that can be a life-changing perspective kind of question, and dare I say it, maybe even equally as important, a bourbon perspective changing question. Today we are doing our Is It Better Than Blanton's tasting, because we have a bottle of Blanton's and we have a fresh bottle of Weller Special Reserve as the challenger. And really, what better way to put them to use than to put them up together and against each other for myself and whiskey lovers the world over. Now, before we get to it, if you like these videos of the wanders, of the hauls, of the unbottlings, unboxings, reviews, and tastings, and really all the great stuff we got cooking up for you, and we got a ton of great stuff cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. It's great for your whiskey mojo, and you get notifications when our newest videos come out every Sunday and sometimes in between, like this one. All right, now, let's get down to the video. Now, since this is the first of the Is It Better Than Blanton's, let's open up a fresh bottle of Blanton's, and I believe actually this is probably the second bottle I've ever opened. So I'm coming to this with a pretty fresh notion on what Blanton should taste like. So let's get some glasses. We'll do green for Weller and blue for Blanton's. Get this one open. And get a pop. Let's see if we can get a pop. It's a little lackluster. Get a little bit of a pour here. Get a better one. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so that is the Blanton's, and let's turn the bottle here for the Weller, and get the Weller open and get a pop off of the Weller. Oh man, that's gonna leave a mark against the points for sure on the Weller. Get a pour here, and let the games begin. All right, real quick, while these are opening up a bit, let's talk about how we are going to score each of these bottles. And actually, it's pretty straightforward. We have a couple of categories. We have ABV, we have price, we have rarity, nose, palate, and finish. So pretty typical. And we're going to go through each of the categories with each of the whiskeys, and whichever one is better at those categories, then they're going to get a point in that category. And the one with the most points at the end, well, then they win. So let's start with the ABV and the price, because those ones are a bit more objective and kind of easy to talk about. The first one we're going to talk about is the Blanton's. It is the Blanton's Original. So it's a single barrel. It has a proof of 93 on it. So I guess if we calculate that out for percentage, it is 46.5% ABV. This one specifically was dumped on 5/3/2022. It is barrel number 1067, Warehouse H, and Rick number 8, and was bottle 192. So that is going to be the Blanton's that we are going to be putting up against the Special Reserve. Now, the Special Reserve, on the other hand, it doesn't really have all the provenance that the Blanton's does. So it does have an ABV at 90 proof or 45% ABV, so it's a little bit lower. And we got this Special Reserve at a grocery store in San Diego for $24.99. And then for the Blanton's, we got it in LA up here in a grocery store for $79.99. So at first glance, Special Reserve, it's going to be a bit of an underdog. There's just kind of no way around that. It's got a lower ABV. It's just by a couple points, though. It's got a lower price, and I'm not sure why that matters, but I know that it does. And we know that both the whiskeys, the Wellers and the Blantons, they can be pretty skewed on price sometimes, especially when they're based more on hype than on reality. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the nose and see if we can get a nose on these two and make a comparison. So I'm going to go with the Blantons first here. There's a definite sweetness, almost to the point of like a sacchariness. You know, it's very evident. There's caramel, almost like a pecan pie, and there is absolutely no ABV. I don't get any ABV on the Blantons. Ooh, oh yeah. You definitely get some of that vanilla, that leather and nutty wood that, you hear a lot about, but it's definitely there. Oh, that's pretty good. I had forgotten what Blanton's had smelled like. I haven't had it in quite some time. All right, so let's try the Weller Special Reserve and see how this one goes. Well, it's kind of similar. It definitely has a similar family resemblance, if you will. Which definitely makes sense, right? They're both out of the Buffalo Trace family. I don't know if they're copying each other's notes, but there is a similarity there. But the sweetness is definitely much darker, much heavier, heftier, if you will. And I get a circus peanuts and a baked chocolate and corn. But again, not much ABV, and I don't get any rye on there, which would make sense. It's more, and the wheat seems to more mellow it out. All right, now in comparison, the Blanton's definitely is a bit lighter as far as the nose goes. Neither is particularly heavily on the ABV. You don't really get much ABV on either of them. But the nose on the Blanton seems to be a bit more nuanced and complex than the Weller. But the Weller has a much deeper, darker sweetness to it, which I think I really enjoy. They both smell great, yeah, for sure. But the Weller definitely seems a lot less mature, less well developed, and it definitely has a rough edge feel to it. So I think on the nose, this one's gonna go to the Blantons. Yeah, for sure. All right, now real quick before we get to the palate, let's talk about Rarity. Now, although I can see how you may be wondering why Rarity matters, but when you find a bottle that is hard to find, like a Blanton's or heck, even like a Weller Special Reserve nowadays, I'm not sure how it does, but it definitely affects the whole experience. It makes you feel good when you're drinking it, and I think that it's relevant to the overall experience. Now, in general, the wife and I are almost always on the lookout for bourbons. I mean, Blanton's for sure, and Wellers to a similar degree. At the grocery stores when we're out and about, and purely anecdotal, I know, I feel like the Weller actually is a little bit harder to find around MSRP than the Blantons. I've never seen Special Reserve in a Costco, at least here in Southern California, but the Blantons does show up. You can find it here or there, and we actually could be able to buy a couple bottles at Costco. So for Rarity, I think I'm going to give that one to Weller. All right, now on to the palate and the finish, and I'm pretty sure this is where each of them are going to kind of show their dramatic differences. For the nose, they definitely have a familiar profile, right? It's definitely they seem very similar, but I think this is where those features within the family are going to stand out from one another. So this time we're gonna start with the Weller because we went with the Blantons first, and let's give this one a taste. It's definitely not what I got on the nose, for sure. It's a lot waterier than I had anticipated. Those rough edges definitely coming out. I get that. And you know what? There is that hint of ABV, which is nice. I like that. There isn't that deep, dark sweetness that you got on the nose, but almost like a light cotton candy, and it tastes real young. Tobacco, char, burnt coffee as well, like coffee house coffee. And I get a little hint of oak on there as well. So, but really used barrels. Yeah. Now let's try for the Blantons. Oh. The contrast there is very sizable. The difference is leaps and bounds. And I get like a, I guess it would be like a rye spice that just isn't there in the Weller, obviously, right? It is heads and shoulders more smoother than the Weller. It has a much more mature and like serious body to it, and really a well-balanced ABV with kind of all the other flavors going around in there. Just so much more balanced and frankly a little bit more enjoyable. But you get the salted caramel, and that rye spice. That's real nice, and they just kind of weave themselves in and out of the palate. So I like that is a beautiful whiskey. I think hype or not, it's a nice whiskey. All right, so in comparison, it's pretty obvious. The Blanton's just kind of outshines the Weller, hands down. It's well balanced, it's subtle ABV, and its congruous rye spice that goes together with everything just makes the Blanton's, for me at least, a far clearer winner for the palate. For the finish, again, I think that the finish They're both actually surprisingly long. Both of them do a pretty good job on the finish. But it is those addition of complexity, like the rye spice and the caramel sweetness, that Blanton's holds till the very, very, very end, and even kind of past that. And I like that. So I think that's going to give Blanton's the upper hand on this one as well. So to answer the question of, is it better than Blanton's? I think in this case, it's a clear no. The Weller Special Reserve, it definitely has some advantages. First, it's way less expensive. It doesn't get bought up as fast as Blanton's does. And liquor stores, they won't take a swing at you when you ask for it, right? And it has a lot of similar profiles to Blanton's, sans, of course, the rye spice. So, is it better than Blanton's? No. But is it still a decent whiskey? Absolutely, 100%. I would say the Weller Special Reserve is probably going to be at the top of its class of those bourbons that are in a similar price range. But ultimately, definitely not better than Blanton's. It's not even in the same class. All right, so that's it for our Is It Better Than Blanton's review. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you like these videos of the wanders, of the hauls, the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and all the great stuff we got cooking up for you, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's great for the channel. It pleases the whiskey gods, and you get notifications when our newest videos come out every Sunday, and sometimes in between, like this one. Now, of course, as always, just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will. In this case, it might even be me. Cheers, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. I'm out, and adios.